Another group of people who know this kind of crisis all too well are residents of Slave Lake, Alberta. Wildfires destroyed much of that town 5 years ago. Some of the victims from that fire are now offering their advice. Mandy Larsson is among them. She wrote a Facebook post to the people of Fort Mac that's been shared thousands of times. Here's some of the advice she had. Be prepared to be gone 2 weeks, maybe more, probably not less. They will need to get the burned areas fenced off, gas lines capped, electric wires fixed, and water treatment running, all before they will let people back in. It will also be very hot. There were guns or bullets erupting days after the fire stopped, so find a place you are comfortable staying for a while. And though it may not seem like it now, your city will flourish again. Mandy Larsson joins us now from Lloydminster, Alberta. Thank you very much for taking the time. What made you take to Facebook and write this all out?
It was really the fear and the unknown that I remember from back when we were displaced from our homes in Slave Lake. I remember that uncertainty, and I don't want people to have that same uncertainty, so I thought that I would share with them the information that I wished I would have known at the time when we were displaced from our homes. And I just hoped that I could bring peace of mind and a little bit of comfort to those that were seeking refuge from their homes.
When you saw the pictures emerging from Fort McMurray, what went through your mind?
It was devastating and very heart-wrenching. The adrenaline was rushing up every time I saw a video of the fire. It was very hard to watch and not get emotional. Feeling the fear from those people that were stranded on the side of the highway with their children and not knowing how long it would be until help came to them and not knowing if the fire was going to catch up behind them. I couldn't imagine that. And so it was very, very emotional and trying time.
Mandy, some of the people who have been fleeing said that they feel like refugees. Is that what you remember feeling when the fires were burning in Slave Lake?
I don't really remember a feeling of being a refugee, but I do remember a feeling of being a Canadian and that welcoming warmth and hugs that we got from absolutely everybody that we met. As soon as we said we were from Slave Lake, just a light shone up in their eyes and they were willing to give us absolutely everything, including the shirt off their own backs. And I remember that feeling of community, even not being in my own community.
How long did it take for you and your family to get your life back together after that disaster happened?
We were lucky not to lose our home, and so it didn't take as long as those who lost their homes would have taken for them. It was a couple of months for sure. At least a few large rains had to come through before we could sleep well at night. And it was the sense of community that happened around us and everybody pulling together and everybody talking about it and helping each other through the emotional hardship. That was what made it feel more like home and made it feel less like a strange place for us.
Mandy, one of the things that you wrote in your on your Facebook posting was about bullets and guns going off for days after the fire swept through. I mean, that sounds absolutely frightening.
It was definitely terrifying. It happened during a media tour, and people were taking cover, not knowing where the bullets were coming from. But it was actually bullets that were in a safe that had just reached that final point, and it was just that 1 degree of temperature that set it off. And so it was one of those hazards that you don't think of when you want to bring people back into the city. And luckily, at that time, nobody was in the city.
Most of the people who were affected in Slave Lake, did they move back, have their lives sort of resumed normally?
Most people, their lives are back to normal now, or at least on a very fair track to get there. It did take a long time to rebuild Slave Lake, and they did it in zones, and it was very well plotted out and done very economically. So it did take a long time, but now they are from Slave Lake and they have that sense of community because everybody pulled together so much.
We, today have had pictures of someone's, basically their house burning on security video. So many families are going to be in that position. What words do you have for them if, they're probably feeling like they've lost everything?
Yeah, and I can't express my sorrow enough for them. I know if they lost their homes. I just want to tell you that those photos that you lost, it is tragic, but they're in your memory. And those possessions, the baby booties, the first outfit that your baby wore home from the hospital, all of those items, they live in your heart. And don't let them burn up like the fire did. Just hold on to those and let people help you rebuild.
Mandy, thank you very much for your time and for your Facebook posting as well. Thanks a lot.